Today we will compare the second section of the short story It Had to Be Murder and the movie Rear Window side by side. The first scene will be the version of the short story directly followed by the events portrayed in the movie, and this will alternate as we move along. We pick up halfway on page 3 as Jeff watches his neighbor pack his wife's clothing into a large trunk as the night progresses. The husband spends the night in the living room rather than the bedroom, which baffles Jeff, and Jeff also remarks on the man's increased alcohol intake. In the movie, Jeff is visited regularly by Lisa Fremont, his socialite girlfriend, and a nurse named Stella. One night, after an argument with Lisa, Jeff is alone in his apartment and hears a woman scream, "Don't!" and the sound of breaking glass. Back to the short story. The next day, the husband admits 2 men who take away the trunk into the apartment. After their departure, he drinks again. Jeff sees the empty bed when the husband finally ventures into the bedroom and raises the shade. In the movie, Jeff notices Thorwald's wife is gone the following day and sees him cleaning a large knife and handsaw. Thorwald also has moving men haul away a large trunk. Back to the short story. Jeff's suspicion grows and he enlists Sam to investigate the couple. Sam learns their names are Lars Thorwald and Anna Thorwald. Jeff continues to ponder the man's curious behavior. Why did he avoid the bedroom until the trunk was gone? In the movie, Jeff becomes convinced that Thorwald has murdered his wife and shares this with Lisa and Stella, who believe him when they notice that Thorwald's wife isn't in bed anymore. Lisa swings by the mailbox at night and discovers the couple's names are Lars and Anna Thorwald. Back to the short story. He decides to call his detective friend Boyne. Despite some initial reluctance, Boyne agrees to investigate only to discover that the neighbors and building superintendent all say Mrs. Thorwald was sent away for her health. In the movie, Jeff calls his friend and war buddy Tom Doyle, a New York City police detective, and asks him to investigate Thorwald. Reluctantly, he agrees to do so. Back to the short story. While Thorwald is out, Boyne and his crew snoop around the apartment. They discover a postcard from Mrs. Thorwald in the mailbox, but the date is illegible. Jeff suggests it could be an old postcard planted to reinforce Thorwald's story. He advises Boyne to track the mysterious trunk, which he believes to contain the wife's body. In the movie, Doyle finds an old postcard in the mailbox stating Mrs. Thorwald is upstate. Jeff asks his friend if he needs to find the trunk, which must have Mrs. Thorwald's body. Back to the short story. An irate Boyne later returns to Jeff with an update. His men have located the trunk and the living Mrs. Thorwald. He urges Jeff to forget the matter and leaves. Instead, Jeff pens a note asking, "What have you done with her?" He sends Sam to slip it under Thorwald's door while he retrieves a spyglass and looks through the window. He watches Thorwald read the note and sees fear in the man's expression. In the movie, a disgusted Doyle finds nothing suspicious. Apparently, Mrs. Thorwald was seen leaving the building with her husband and was taken to the train station. She is currently upstate and picks up the trunk filled with her clothes. As we can see, Section 2 of the story follows a more similar pattern between the short story and the movie. In this section, we get a better description of the events that transpired in the aftermath of the possible murder.